Hey everybody, you are listening to Canary Cry Radio and Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to episode number 162, Escape Babylon.
It's moving slow nowadays, but we just keep marching on into the future. We are coming to you now on Thursday, October 12th, the day before Friday the 13th, which is the day before the Camden, Tennessee Canary Cry meetup at the Self-Reliance Festival. Whoa, everything's aligning, Gonz.
Yeah, especially the moon and the sun. Go to the festival and watch the ring of fire in the sky the day after the day of jihad. I mean, there's a lot going on out there.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. So what better time than to record an episode with Sam Swanson from The Slave to Servant. It is a musical project. If you're a long-term Canary Cry fan, you will know Sam from the olden days when he hosted God's Property Radio. He is now out and about living a life free from the system. And we had a great conversation, Gonz. I know you'll be learning about it here as you edit this episode. We started the episode with Gonz, but then life found a way to steal him from us for the majority of the episode. So we will miss you. However, there's a lot of really, really important things to hear in this conversation, folks. The Slave to Servant is coming out with their new album, Escape from Babylon, which promises, here's the thing, it's not just good music, okay? It is also good music, but it is a sort of incredible reflection of the times that have gone by in the past few years and a sort of hopeful perspective on what's to come next. You'll hear in this conversation, we get pretty deep into some very important human topics as human beings living in the time and the system that we're in now, and the state of that system, the trend towards freedom happening inside as a movement of people, and falling deeper into the gospel and scripture, and what does it mean and what does it look like to live a life aligned with your values in a system that incentivizes us to enslave ourselves. It's a whole thing, folks, and you're gonna love it. Gonz is also going to love it while he goes through and edits this to make sure it comes out on Friday the 13th, the day of jihad.
Well, good. Yeah, I might just retire into the back room anyway. I'll just let everybody else do the talking. I'll just be pushing buttons. Sounds like a better deal.
There is peace. There is a peace to be found there, but people will miss you. I will miss you, Gonz. Don't do that. Not yet.
Not yet. All right.
Not yet. Someday. But not today.
Okay.
Yeah, folks. So I don't know if there's much else to say about this, except I do want to, up here at the top, let you know that the Canary Cry meetup in Camden, Tennessee is Saturday, the 14th of October. Is at the Self-Reliance Festival. I do not know much about the Self-Reliance Festival, but it sounds awesome. I'm considering reaching out to them and seeing if there's a way for us to get involved. But it's in Camden, Tennessee. Slave to Servant will be playing a show there and releasing their album there. And there is a Canary Cry meetup there. So if you are within striking distance of Camden, Tennessee, we highly recommend you drop your weekend plans and you head out to Camden and go to the Self-Reliance Festival. I should reach out. I got this person who puts the festival on Twitter. Maybe I should reach out, see if we can get a discount code or something for Canarians. I'll check that out. But Gonz, you got any comments to make before we get into it?
Not really, because I missed most of the conversation. But I think it's a good change of pace while the world goes into World War III, I think it's a good time to just kind of take a break, talk about some bigger issues, listen to some good music, and hang out.
And if something happens on Friday, we will have 2 days to pray about it and then report about it on Monday.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a good thing. I know there's a rush to be the first to comment or break things, but I don't think we're in that game, you and I, Basil, with the news talk stuff. So let things simmer for a little bit, and we'll have a better perspective on things after a couple days, hopefully. Hopefully nothing big happens. That's kind of my hope, is that nothing
if
really happens.
Something does, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out, folks. Who knows? Maybe we'll do an emergency broadcast. I don't know. But here you go. Here is a conversation with Sam Swanson from Slave to Servant and Andy Jennings, another old school Canary Cry radio guest from Dissident Prophet, who is now playing with Sam Swanson in Slave to Servant. Check it out. Cool guy alert. Let's get going.
Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend. We have Sam Swanson from the very cool kid band Slave to Servant and longtime friend of the show. What's going on, Sam?
Hey, Basil. Hey, Gonz. How you guys doing?
Yay.
Good. Glad you could make it.
Yeah, thanks for making some time for us here. And old school Canary Cry listeners will remember you from, pretty much the very beginning. For those who don't know, Sam, you had a podcast kind of around the same time we started, and that's kind of how we met. And now you are grown. You have set such childish things aside and are touring around with your band, Slave to Servant. And my first question, do you feel like an adult now?
Oh, it's a good question. I don't know that I can give you a full answer. I guess I'm always going to be a kid at heart, So, but
mysterious.
Youthful father too. So, but
yeah. That counts. If you have children, I think you officially made it as an adult.
Yeah.
This is a big topic of conversations for millennials, man. We don't really know. We don't really know when we've become an adult, but you're doing.
We're the ticket.
That was the one.
Yeah.
That's what did it. Okay, good. So we are here with adult man, Sam Swanson.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. As I'm excited personally because I've been on the show a few times, but never had my own episode where I got to represent something. It's always been authors and things like that. Now I actually have something worthwhile to put out. So, I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
it only took you like 11 years.
Yeah. Started off with a little voicemail, that we left at the beginning of one of your episodes, and then did the flyby, and then I think we were kind of with you there when you interviewed Kent Hovind. Oh, and I think that massive, colossal episode that you did for episode 100.
Oh,
I think
yes.
I was one of those features as well. So, yeah.
Indeed.
Long-time listener. I've been a fan for quite some time.
Oh, I appreciate it. And you sat third chair for an experimental episode, I think, back in 2020 of Canary Cry News Talk. So there you go, folks. There's the credibility you've been craving.
Well, Canary Cry News Talk listeners have had Sam in their ear for years if they've been listening for years because of this drop.
Canary Cry support.
Which, by the way, Sam, I edited that to fit the new the new domain.
Yeah, maybe this is a good opportunity to officially, publicly put this on your radar that we did change our support URL, and we've tried our best to tinker with the brilliant jingle you made us. But if you find all that extra time while you're on the road and you're just craving a creative project, that one's waiting for you. Unless you think that Gonz's edit is about as good as anything could possibly be.
It was tough. That was a tough edit.
All right. So we are here, Sam, to talk about a few things: the state of the world, the state of the spiritual wars going on, the state of the deep, dark secrets that our leaders are keeping from us, and your brand new album, which presumably will cover one of more of those topics. You've been doing this for some years now, and I always find it interesting. There have been several bands. I don't know what several even means, but there's been a number of bands over the years that we've been in contact with that specifically are using their talents in a way to edify or educate people in regards to the secret or not so secret things going on at the top levels of society or the spiritual realm or something like that. And there's been some attempts. There's been some good ones out there. But are you one of these? Are we putting you in that category, or is it just by accident that you're on this podcast?
No, this is quite intentional, I would say.
Okay, wow.
But yeah, no, we've been doing this a long time, and I believe the first time that I ever put out a song was Gonz was obviously on guitar on that song that we did for Leonard Ulrich's second film. So that was back in 2015, I think. So,
Tell us a little bit about the band here. Tell us just everything. Tell us everything.
Okay. Well, first off, I do hesitate. While it is a band in a lot of ways, I consider it to be a project / collective. And what I mean by that is that I don't look at. I guess I would look at it more like how Nine Inch Nails works, where it's kind of like there's a brainchild, right? Like Trent Reznor, and he has his touring guys and his hired hands for the tour stuff. And he has his people that he collaborates with in the studio, like Atticus Ross or whoever, produces or plays on the record. It's kind of like just a song by song basis, a recording by recording basis, and I view anybody who helps out as part of just the Slave to Servant collective, whether it's even just on the business front or helping with social media or anything. We're just kind of like a team,
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you're an artist, so of course there's some sort of loosey-goosey, non-titled sort of ambient structure to this. You wouldn't want there to be too much governance going on.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Yeah, or responsibility or anything like that. No, I really appreciate that. So keep telling me more. What's the idea? What's the vibe? And tell me a little bit about the album.
Yeah, so it started off with really just that first song back in 2015, and I started writing a whole lot of material. A bunch of the songs were acoustic, and some of them were full band songs. Some of them ended up as remixes. I ended up re-releasing all those initial embryonic stages of the band on one CD called Singularity back in 2021. And I was working on a rock record, like it's just a really loud, I just wanted to make a really big, loud rock record. And so that was entitled Escape Babylon. I was working on that back in 2015, I think is when I started working on that record, with pre-production and writing. And then when 2019 came along, it just seemed like the right time to pull the trigger and actually record it. And I had written some new material since that wouldn't have made it otherwise. And so I went into the studio with my friend and my bandmate Jesse Sprinkle, and we tracked the whole record with some buddies, and then started mixing the record. And then there's this weird thing. I don't know if you guys know about it, but like in 2020, I think we just like the world shut down, and I just felt like I shouldn't release this yet. You know, I was ready to drop it by summertime, and I feel like it would have gotten wasted, you know? I wanted some freedom to be able to do some shows, make some more videos, promote it properly. And so that's just what I've been doing. I've been sitting on this little egg here, you know, this whole time. So, and, but as far as like the topics at hand, I cover a lot of the stuff that you guys cover on your show that we've always talked about. There's even a bonus track that only made the CD version. I had to have a little Nephilim jab in there. So there's a B-side on the CD version, and that's about the sons of God. But there's everything. It's very socio-spiritual. I hesitate to call it political because I consider myself apolitical, but I guess you could put that in there as well. Large range of topics. Some of the topics also that I cover on the record were just, I think I had you on my podcast, Basil, when I started Hallelujah back in the day.
Oh yeah.
We were doing kind of an art-based look at, you know, just believers, and part of something I was just going down was like my heart at the time, and I was trying to write songs about the concept of loving one's enemy and things like that, and that's covered largely in a few tracks on this record. And I definitely went through a time where I had to actually live out that experiment and had to put the album on hold and everything like that prior to even recording it. And it's weird how sometimes you're writing about things that are kind of cryptic at the time. You thought you had a hold on it, but then you're forced to live out the experiment, you know? And it's like God's like, oh, you wanna write about that, Sam? Well, how about we put you in some situations where you have to implement this? So
funky. Do you want to tell me about those situations a little bit? What is there any specifics you can share?
Yeah, I mean, if I just cut it, and I used to work and live on a campground in upstate New York, and worked for family, was married, and basically my whole life in 2016 kind of imploded. And this record ended up getting a bunch of bonus content from that experience as well. Some of the loss that I incurred from that and growth that I incurred from that. But yeah, that forced me into a situation where I had to essentially provide for my children and do something else that would pay the bills, right? And so I started learning cover songs, and I started a cover band for a while, and the band never really took off. But as a solo cover artist, God blessed me, and my busiest year, I think, was 2019. I did 193 shows.
Whoa, busy boy.
So yeah, I'm a full-time cover musician by trade. I play a lot of weddings and cocktail hours and stuff like that, corporate events, and then wineries, stuff like that as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, God somehow, I guess it's kind of redemption in a way, because all those years, what did they say? You put in 10,000 plus hours on, and you become an expert. And I mean, I spent a great deal of time in my own bedroom on a 4-track making music and playing songs, and it paid off because people like my spin on these 70s and 80s and 90s and whatever pop songs. So
sure.
Yeah, that's, I guess, in short, that's about all I got as far as that's concerned. That's what I had to live through. That had to go through the divorce, and you get bitter or you get better. I I think God just refined me through it all and made me a completely different person. And I'm so blessed to have gone through it. You thank him in hindsight, you know, it's like, wow, thank you for the pain, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's especially during 2020. I mean, the absolute upheaval of everybody's lives during that time. There was a lot of opportunities to, I don't know, waste away or fade into the shadows or whatever. But lots of people had some pretty powerful sort of transformative experiences in all areas of their life. And I consider, of course, us with this podcast as an entirely new thing than it was before 2020.
Absolutely.
I mean, and of course, life is entirely different now. But yeah, it could have very easily gone the other way. So that's very encouraging. And just know, people out there, there's still time. There's still time.
Yeah.
And we should probably mention, because of all the very engaging and mysterious ambient background noise that we're hearing from you, you are, it's kind of like a soundscape. We get to experience what it's like to be a musician on tour doing a podcast in a parking lot or something. Tell us what you're doing now. You're on tour, you're moving around, and you're at a Starbucks.
Yeah, it's funny. Just before we talk about the Starbucks, we were mentioning, prior to 2020, and I have to say because I was in a sink or swim situation, I kind of put all things truther on the back burner, and including my own record that I was working on, and I was just trying to make a living. And when 2020 hit, I remember very vividly going out and seeing your first broadcast on YouTube, and I was like, I'm back. Let's go. There was a resurgence. I was like, all right, God, you had me learn this for a reason. You had me learn about these things, and it was on. So,
awesome.
But yeah, you guys have been killing it. I appreciate you guys very much and what you do.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, so I'm at a Starbucks here, got some Chipotle with the guys, and picked up our bass player at the airport here in Nashville, and we're going to be heading out very soon here to the Self-Reliance Festival for the very first public Slave to Servant performance.
Ooh, doggy. That's very fun. Now, some serious Canarians will recognize, because they always do what I ask them to do, and they've gone to canarycrymeetups.com. There is a Canary Cry meetup at the Camden, Tennessee Self-Reliance Festival. And you are the guy. You are the guy. So if you're out there, you're in striking distance of Camden, Tennessee, you should go to the Self-Reliance Festival. You should be doing that already anyways. But come find Sam at the Slave to Servant merch booth, or give him a little RSVP or a hello at slavetwo2servant@gmail.com. And Sam will then become your slave turned servant, and he'll do anything you want him to do. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Sounds great. But there will be a gift for you if you show up to the merch booth. So,
ooh, gift. Oh, good. Okay, there you go.
Password is Canarian. You heard it here first.
You heard it here. Go do it. Go now. Go. Start driving. It's tomorrow. Go to Tennessee. Self-Reliance Festival. That's pretty cool. I mean, that sounds like it fits our whole thing here. How did you get hooked up with them?
Yeah, so I listened to a couple different prepper / survival podcasts, and one of them is the Survival Podcast by Jack Spirko. I don't know if you've ever heard of him at all, but he's been doing it probably for, I think, 12 years or more. And I had found out about the event because one of the guests on his show, Nicole Sauce, she was putting it on, and I was staying with my parents last winter and spring in the Ozarks, and I thought, hey, it's only 6 hours away. I don't have the kids. I might as well go make some community and see what it's all about. So I went solo, and I this is really funny, actually. I was walking. I'd already met a couple acquaintances and friends in my camp, because you can camp on the premises there with the tent. And I was walking to pay the parking guy, because he said I could come in without paying, but that I was on the honor system, I better follow through. So I was on my way to go find him, but I couldn't help but overhear a conversation that was going on at a picnic table with a bunch of gentlemen. And this gentleman, he was saying something like this. He was saying, all those Norse gods, that tribe of Dan, they went on to create Odin and all this. And I was just like, this is my people right here. I need to I need to be part of this. And it turned into this amazing Bible study for the better part of 2 hours. And amidst all these, I guess, for lack of a better term, anarcho survivalist type of people. And a lot of them are believers. A lot of the speakers at the event were unapologetically Christian and teaching us skills on how to be self-reliant in various different ways. And so I just got a lot out of it, most of all the community aspect of it. And I thought to myself, you guys don't have any music. Like, this would be such an opportune time and place for a band like Slave to Servant, because I just don't see myself going to cities anymore. I don't really want to go to any cities if I can help it. And I think that there are, after talking to these people, there are numerous events all over the place, all over the United States, I'm sure even abroad. And this is where my heart's at right now, is to kind of seize these opportunities and create a renaissance if I can.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that's kind of the thing nowadays. It's, I don't know, with all the crazy things that just keep getting crazier and crazier, there is sort of this movement toward like real authentic moments and events versus the sort of corporatized, commercialized type of thing. And of course, we're big fans of that around here, but it feels like they've kind of overplayed their hand a bit and people are just sick of it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. Gonz, are you there, or are you helping your brother move a refrigerator? He's helping his brother move a refrigerator. Okay. Now, you've got such an interesting background, at least from the perspective of this show, because you used to have a podcast and you did a lot of the similar, covered a lot of the similar topics. Well, for those who don't know, it's called God's Property Radio.
Which, by the way, I have to say, I did go. There is one place that you can find God's Property Radio still, and it's on YouTube. And do you remember the whole rule when you first get a YouTube channel of you get 15 minutes to post something, and until you have a certain amount of subscribers or views? So the first 13 episodes are in 15-minute increments,
15-minute chunks.
Yeah, of 3-hour episodes, but there's so many of them. However, I went back just to see. I've never checked really, has it done anything? Are people in certain episodes, like Rob Skiba obviously were our biggest, but I was looking through the segments and I found that certain I guess numbers or segments were missing, from censorship. So
I got pulled.
Yeah, I mean, we did cover a lot on vaccines and health on that podcast, so I would imagine that was a lot of what was missing. But yeah, it's hard to. I don't know. I often think about Leonard Ulrich in his first film, where he talks about making copies of his documentary film. Find a DVD and make a copy of this before, or while we still have a free internet. And it's kind of insane that you, my friend, and Gonz and I were doing this long before we had any of these restrictions. It's gnarly to me.
Yeah, different times, man. But it's cool because you've brought over a lot of that stuff from your podcast kind of into this new project here.
Absolutely.
What's the sort of wackiest topic that you cover in the album?
Wackiest topic? Well, I would say, I mean, I don't know if it's the wackiest, probably to the outsiders, but like I said, there's a bonus track that's not on the vinyl and not on the digital version of the album called Second Coming, but it is on the CD, which is about the Nephilim, and it's about this explanation of, this other explanation of what might be coming out of the sky or out of a portal or dimension, if you will. So...
Yeah, the Nephilim topic has been one of the most surprising because it was, of course, the most obscure topic that, we could talk about back when we started podcasting. And now, especially because of all the, alien talk and movement and policy in the government, Nephilim conversations are fairly common, just kind of like out in the open nowadays. I was watching the Netflix show Encounters, which is like their new big alien documentary series. And, it's been in the top 10 on Netflix for quite some time. And episode 1, they are covering this guy who had an encounter. And he's like, yeah, I teach my kids the Bible every day, and we find aliens in the scripture, and they're probably Nephilim, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, okay. So top 10 show on Netflix is talking about the theory or the fact of the Nephilim and how it applies to today's life. It's truly surprising.
It is. But if I can start from the beginning, I guess, the way I wrote this record, I want to give props, first of all, to one of the guests that was on Hallelujah, which was my second podcast during the God's Property radio days. His name is Nick Abraham, and he's an artist, and he had created this image that said "Escape Babylon" with this like sword going through a pyramid, and it just, I don't know, it just impacted me, and I was like, that is a perfect album title for the songs that I'm writing right now. And eventually I did write a song called Escape Babylon for the record as well. But the opening track, I thought to myself, very much, I remember being on the campground writing a lot of these songs. And one in particular was, you think about when you first come into these topics and you have that kind of paradigm shift going on, and, or as Chris White might call it, New World Order freakout syndrome.
Yeah.
But, I was thinking about that speech that Morpheus gives to Neo, and I was thinking about how he's asking him all these questions, like what is the Matrix, etc. And I wanted a song that really, to me, captured the essence of just asking the listener, questions to make them think and feel at the same time. And so the first song on the record is based on a companion piece that is the first track on the Singularity collection called "The Hand That Destroys the Establishment of the Eye," and that is in reference to the Hebrew name of Jesus, which is Yeshua, for the pictographic alphabet and meaning of the name. And the song just begins like this. Begins with the words of Jesus: "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do."
Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
That all of us have is that when I think about our faith and going into any sort of dark topics or anything like that, that is one that is interweaved throughout this record, is this idea of this a selfless love that none of us could possibly implement, if you would, and to keep that in check. But I open up the record with some lyrics like this. I say, do you feel it in your bones, from the bottom to the top inside you taking control? In a world that's cracked while the odds are stacked, we somehow never cease to hesitate to spin our backs. When it's survival of the fittest, what's the point in compassion? Why even cure disease when it's a hospital cash-in? Evolutionized identity, gorilla-like propensity, Lord help this extremity, in your name.
You taking control in a world that's cracked while the odds are stacked. We somehow never cease to hesitate to spin our backs. When it's survival of the fittest, what's the point in compassion? Why even get a disease when it's a hospital cash-in? Evolutionized identity, gorilla-like propensity, Lord of this extremity, in your name.
It gets a little bit more socio-political at the second verse, talking about transhuman singularity, coercive cryptocurrency, stuff like that. And that's the opening track to the record.
Just jumping right into it, man.
Yeah, from the get-go. The second track is a song called Never Greener that I wrote about my divorce, essentially, what I was going through. And, you know, it's always never greener. And if I could, I couldn't even explain to you right now what's going on in my life right now that's showing me that all the things that went on years back didn't pay off for my ex. It's crazy. It's so crazy to me. And it's also this, I'm not happy to watch it. It's something that she has to kind of go through right now. And I still feel for her. You know what I'm saying? And that's God. That's God showing me, you know, there was this moment in time where I lived next door. I was living with my parents for 4 years next door to my old house. And she had moved her now husband in to my house, and it was a hard situation for a while. And eventually the divorce went through, and I found out that she was pregnant and had a child. And there was a moment where I was in the backyard watching her husband in my old backyard with his child. And my first thought, Basil, was awe. Like, I remember that. I remember being at that backyard holding my child.
Yeah.
It's kind of what Never Greener pertains to.
Wow.
There are a lot of
personal
songs on this record that deal with that thing as well. So,
yeah, that's serious business, man. I mean, I think that's an excellent, or that's what I find so special about what you're creating is it's not just an outlet to resolve the problem of nobody listening to you rant about the Nephilim or you know, conspiracy theories or something like that, but it's incredibly personal. I mean, that's what music is supposed to do. It's what it's supposed to be. You know, it's supposed to make you feel in so many different ways, and to connect to sort of I don't know if universal, but sort of a feeling that we all have in different shapes and forms, and feel connected to other people. I mean, that's one of the biggest, most rewarding things about podcasting about the things that we do, is that people, more than anything, they know they're not alone. They know they're not crazy. They know other people are seeing what they're seeing. They know that other people are feeling what they're feeling. And on top of just current events or news or theories or scripture or something, that there are other humans living vivid lives with tragedies and joys, just like they are. It's a sort of a broad spectrum connection. And, for a long time, there wasn't a whole lot of that in the space. It was mostly about the academia or the conspiracy theories or what's going on. And it's so easy to develop an idea of that's all someone is. I mean, the media wants people to believe that crazy conspiracy theorists are not actually human. They're sort of robots programmed to deliver misinformation straight from the desk of Putin. Mm-hmm. And you shall not feel for them. You shall not, but really the answer to a lot of the problems that the media is creating is that sort of human connection with someone who you agree with, or even better, don't agree with. So I think that's very special, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I think that there's an identity crisis going on with humanity, and I think we don't know who our Father is, number one. But we, like you said, we kind of wrap our identity around things. And if you think about it, when we're children and we go into the public school system, and the teacher might ask you, what are you going to be when you grow up? Well, that assumes that your identity is in what you do.
Right.
And I think we have a big problem with that here, especially in the States. I mean, I can speak for that at least. I got my buddy here, though, across the pond. I don't know what you think about that.
Sorry, what was that? I was having a sleep.
We got Andy Jennings here, who's also been a guest on Canary Cry Radio. He is playing guitar with us for this event, and he's been hanging out with me. By the way, did I mention, Basil, to you that I'm a full-time nomad now? I live in a bus.
No, you did not tell me that, although I think if I looked deep down and I really thought about it, I might have been able to guess. You really are this sort of traveling, what's the word? Sort of, not minstrel, but you get a vagabond type going around doing what the Lord's telling you to do.
Sojourner.
Sojourner, yes. How big's your bus? What kind of bus?
It's 35 feet. It's an old Yellowstone touring bus. It's a Greyhound from 75. So it's a Detroit diesel. And it's converted to a home, has a washer, dryer, bathtub, everything that I need. Room for my 2 kids and me. And it was definitely a God thing when it came about. But it also, because it's from 1975 for the conspiracy nuts out there, if we have an EMP, I have 0 computers in there. So I'm golden.
Whoa, good boy. Holy smokes. Yeah. I mean, that's something that is unfortunate. You want the brand new Ford F-150, but sometimes you just need a 30-year-old Dodge sitting in the back, just waiting for the day when the computers go down. That is a big bus. That's not van life. That's bus life. It's almost Goofy movie RV life.
I guess I kind of picked it up from the campground, right? I managed a campground for 6 years, and I said, hey, I want to do that part of this business, not this part.
And that's something I love about you, man. That might be one of the most difficult parts of knowing what's going on in the world and just paying attention. That's the thing. For those, you don't even have to be a conspiracy theorist anymore. All you got to do is just pay attention and believe what your eyes tell you. As much as the media wants to get you to not believe your own eyes, for those who still have the will and the power to believe their own eyes, it's very difficult trying to lead a sort of a normal life. I mean, you might get into the mortgage, you might get into the house, you might get into the iPhone and the Apple Watch and all the things that make the future what it is. But there's a constant draw to just get in a bus that doesn't have computers and drive around and grow your own food and raise cattle and learn how to crochet.
I also homeschool my kids.
And homeschool the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big one, man. That freaks me out.
By
I've
the
been
way,
trying to.
Did I tell you what? I think I probably told you this, but the reason why I homeschool is because in 2019, so for 2 years, I had my kids in the public school system, and my daughter was in pre-K at the time. She was going into kindergarten. Wesley was going into second grade, and we never vaccinated them, right? So we used the New York State exemption, religious exemption, and it was fine. You just type out, we believe in a creator, we believe in the immune system, we're good. You know what?
Yeah, right.
Have to list a Bible verse or anything. So I did that for 2 years. 2019, summer of 2019, me and my other buddy over here, Jesse, his kids also were forced into this situation of homeschooling because New York State in July of 2019 took away the religious exemption for vaccines before COVID.
Oh, good timing.
Yes. So
that's crazy. So there you go, man. You're doing the thing. Yeah, and look, I still consider myself the luckiest guy in the world to get to do what I do. And especially knowing what I know, I mean, there's been a constant draw for years to sort of align, the reality of your life with your principles. And it takes a long time. It's sort of a slow thing. Very rarely are you able to just overnight, sort of align your whole life with the off-grid, garden growing, cattle raising, make your own, clothes out of flax fibers type of lifestyle. But it is possible, folks. Just one little bit at a time. And I mean, with these interest rates, come on.
Oh my God.
A bus is starting to look like a good idea.
Oh my gosh. What you said about paying attention, though, I found that one thing that I feel very firm in, and I don't disparage anybody who drinks alcohol, but I found that when I pulled alcohol completely away from my life, I didn't have a problem with it, but it definitely deepened my connection to God, and it deepened my connection to everything around me and everyone. And so, I mean, it is a neurotoxin after all. So,
I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to Bible thump anybody if they have a drink here and there.
Heck
and
no.
Neither you and most people won't. But it is a government-sanctioned poison. And a government-sanctioned addictive poison. And if nothing else, people who are paying attention should put alcohol in the same category as, high fructose corn syrup and, nanobots in the broccoli and whatever other thing that's sort of a government-sanctioned, honestly, control mechanism. So, again, I don't despise anybody who makes the choice to do that, and of course, moderation is key. But yeah, man, that is another one of those things on the list. That's like if you unspool the mile-long scroll of things that we need to change about our life to align with our views of the world, alcohol is in the first couple feet of that scroll for sure.
What's also fascinating that I listen to a lot of health podcasts as well, and it seems that alcohol is definitely, according to the experts that I'm listening to, at least, it seems to be on the decline as far as it's not even recommended. Like it used to be, like the recommended was 2 glasses of wine a week. The recommended is 0 now. If you want true maximum health, the pros of a glass of wine don't outweigh the cons.
Right.
Of just the pros of having none. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to harp on anybody. I'm
no, of course.
I'm explaining that because with the bus situation, I quit alcohol a couple of years ago, for a time, just for a period. Not cold turkey for good, but just I felt like I should for my own just with
Take a little breaky
the
poo.
vaccine was rolling out at the time, and it was kind of stressful with some things, and I was just like, I think I need to be vigilant here, and so after doing that, about a week in, I just had this, it was like it was beamed to me, hey, the thought of, you are a free spirit, you don't really care about status or keeping up with the Joneses, you would probably enjoy living in a bus. And I thought to myself, why don't I start looking at these schoolies? Why don't I maybe go buy a schoolie and convert it or something? That was my thought. So I started watching the videos. I went online. I went on Facebook Marketplace, found a school bus for $9,000. I was going to go look at it with my dad before he moved to the Ozarks. And before doing so, I called my only truther friend in my area, who just so happens to own a record store, which I think is funny. But I asked him if his friend would let me park a school bus at his friend's farm to convert it for a couple years, just because I need some space to do so. And he said to me, I don't know if he would let you do that, but his dad actually had a Greyhound bus and passed away and left it to his brother. We were going to buy it. You should buy it. Huh. And it just fell in my lap, Basil. And do you know how much I paid for it?
I do not.
$10,000 fully converted.
Oh, hey. Whoa, that's a great deal.
I could probably sell it for $100,000 today.
Yeah, dude. I got a buddy who, as his profession, he converts vans and buses and stuff. And he's one of the cheaper dudes who does it. And if you provide your own bus or van, the conversion is still like $30,000.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. But still, the economic options. It's a sad state of the world when spending $100,000 on a bus to live in is still a better option than getting a mortgage and buying a house.
Even an apartment at this point. I mean, just the idea that, the way I looked at it was, I work very hard at what I do, and I don't have anything to show for it. And I had a mortgage at one point, but even the mortgage to me was like, I don't know, this is 30 years. And even when I own it, I still got to pay taxes. At least this bus, I own it, And so that's, for me, it was just something that I can hold on to and maybe pass off to my kids,
Oh, yeah. No, it used to be that things like RVs and buses like yours, they were considered financial liabilities. And now they really are assets, especially here in phase 1 of the Mad Max apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic world where the normal American is going to have to live someday. I mean, it's not that far away. We're in phase 1. It won't be long until like a huge portion of Americans are living in caravans, sort of like gypsy caravans where everybody has their RV and their bus, and the government has reclaimed all of the land, and you just are forced to live in a vehicle. And when the Census Bureau shows up to count you, you just pack up and roll on next to the next prairie. It's crazy that is like not even a fantasy anymore. We are just there.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. Our friend Adrian lives in Australia, and I was told by Andy that his rent's going up monthly, $100 every month.
Oh my God.
Unreal.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we are literally in the beginning of the corporate apocalypse where corporatism literally ends the world, turns the world into something that we sort of fantasized about, not only with the sort of like corporate pollution and stuff like that, but the financial system just finally everything just rose to the top, and normal people, not even poor people, normal people, middle class people, they have no other choice but to join the caravan of other vagabonds and live out your life.
That's work, my friend.
work remotely, work on Zoom wherever you go. Thanks, Elon, for Starlink. But going back and forth, it's interesting because right now it seems like, it's some people's daydream. It's they're dreaming for the time where they can afford a bus and work remotely and drive around the country. It won't be too long until it's sort of required.
Right.
So you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
You're ahead of the game.
And
you're an inspiration to us all.
Andy would like to chime in for a second.
Andy.
Is that okay? I was just thinking what you were saying. Have you ever read the Cosmic Trilogy by C.S. Lewis and the final book, which is The Hideous Strength?
No, I have not, but I'm familiar with the concept.
Well, he wrote that in the 50s, and it's like very much, it's about transhumanism and about, an attempt at a new world order. And they get so close to it, they're just about to grab it, and then it all falls apart. And I take hope from this kind of stuff, because you know what? It all looks really scary from our side looking up. But if you look at it from the heavenly way down, which we can because we're believers, right? We have that kind of mind's eye. It would only take a little flick or a solar flare or something to take out this whole system. What I'm saying is, look, I've lost everything like Sam. I only died in 2017. I've lost my job through COVID, not taking the jabs. I got through divorce. And, it's shredding has taken place, but I've never been freer. I've had to kind of do things, just move, just make things up and try and start my own business or something, just gardening and things like that and whatever. But I found an immense amount of freedom. But there's risk that comes with freedom. And so our old system was a safe system, but the safety isn't safe anyway when people are putting that out. So, but what I take hope in the fact that these guys don't win in the end. There could be many ways in which it collapses. Obviously, we know ultimately God will intervene if nothing else happens. But I almost think they could implode themselves, because narcissists will just kill each other in the end. That kind of happens in the Hideous Strength. So if anyone's listening out there, I'd really recommend this Cosmic Trilogy. It absolutely affected my life when I read it many years ago, and every 10 years I read it again, and it reminds me that it only takes a little flick, solar flare, or the lights go out, and the whole thing falls apart. And it might just be that people who've gone off grid are actually in a much safer position. They've learned how to survive on their own, be independent, be autonomous, which after isn't that what God wanted us to be anyway? Isn't that what he wants Adam to be?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, you make a great point.
There's hope coming out of this,
Yeah, you make an absolutely great point. That's kind of the hilarious part about it, because the corporatists, they're overplaying their hand. And when I say the corporatists, I mean the whole system includes the government and the media and the whole world order. They've overplayed their hand so much out of their own sort of unquenchable thirst for power that this squeeze going on right now is due to, hey, we can squeeze the people a little bit more. We can force them to go back to work, to stop protesting, to stop striking. We saw it happen in 2020, and I said at the time, this is when workers started getting a little bit more power, started to be able to demand some more wages. And I looked at that and I said, it was on the air, I'm like, this is not good, because the second that the system starts feeling power slip from their hands, they're going to turn around and create the system that forces people back into their place. They don't like people getting too big for their britches, but they're overplaying their strategy so much that they're pushing people out of the system and into buses, and people are finding it's way better. It's a way you feel like you're actually living your life for you or for God instead of living it for the corporatists. And so there is a little bit of this backfire where as they push people out of what would traditionally be considered the middle class, these people are adapting, shifting, moving into buses, living a new lifestyle, getting llamas or emus or whatever, and realizing, oh, I actually was not happy and was not, I don't think I could technically say I was even living in the old system. Mm-hmm. So their grasp for power, as is always the case, the more they squeeze, the more the sand runs out between their fingers. Mm-hmm. But, they're not done yet. They've got plenty of, plenty of big moves that they would just love to pull. But the idea of becoming disconnected from that system is actually taking your own power back. And in this so brief life that we get, people are finding that there's a depth dimension to life, not just a length, in age, but a depth dimension of life that they've been completely missing out on. And it's just causes more and more of the system to fail, for more and more people get pushed out. And sort of conversely, interestingly, and I'm certainly want to be sensitive to all types of situations, but I'd say for the most part, people are finding that life is way cooler than they ever thought it could be, simply by being forced out of the system that they couldn't keep up with.
Got to be out of the box. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We're trying to fit people into these boxes, and we're not made to be in a box. And my kids are finding that out just from homeschool. I mean, they used to have to ride the bus, and it would take forever for them to come back. And we finished school in 3 hours now. It's nuts. And we have freedom. We can leave. So you can have safety or you can have freedom, but you can't have both, I don't think.
Right. Yeah, that's the key. And of course, it has to be said that whatever's going on now, well, in fact, I think we're going in a shift in the other direction. But up until now, the desire for safety had been so programmed into each and every person that, like the frog in the boiling pot of water, just little by little, giving up not just their freedom, not just their money, not just their self-reliance, but really, a depth dimension of life that you don't really notice disappearing. It's kind of like walking on a very gently sloped beach, where you don't, it feels flat, but as you walk into the water, you start getting deeper and deeper and deeper until your feet don't touch the ground anyway, at all. And you're just floating there. And I think it's when people get to that point when they're just floating and they feel, totally, totally drifting, that the sand has disappeared from under them, that they go, okay, something isn't quite right here. Something is not what it seems. The promises have not been kept. I don't even feel the ground below my feet anymore. And so I guess I'll just swim away. Take it easy, beach. I'm out of here. So, Andy, is Andy still there?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you playing the band here, Andy?
I'm playing a bit of guitar for Sam.
Okay. Bit of guitar. Where are you from?
I'm from Birmingham, England. Well, born
Alabama.
They make the chocolate. No, Birmingham, in the UK. So I'm over here. I'm an alien. Illegal alien.
Did I hear you say you make chocolate?
Oh no, I come from where they make chocolate. From Bourne.
Oh, okay. Got it. That's where the chocolate comes from.
That's where all the Oompa Loompas come from. That's where I know a few Oompa Loompas.
Ah, of course. But, so, are you? What's your lifestyle here? Are you another vagabondian?
No,
are you settled down someplace?
I've just come over to be with Sam for a bit because we Skype regularly and chat and stuff. My life's changed. I'm a gardener now back in England. I've got a new disco band. I was Distant Prophet, obviously. I've started a disco funk band as well.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, another band people should check out, Dissident Prophet.
Yeah. So it's been a pleasure hanging out with Sam, and because he's very similar to me. We're very similar. We write songs similarly. We think about things similarly. We've been through similar experiences. So it's really a pleasure to hang out with him, man. And his mate Jesse, he's a right laugh. So I'm just having we had a nice road trip. Talking, it was an 18-hour road trip, but it went really quickly. We were just talking all the time about all this kind of stuff, like what you're talking about now, and everything else. So, one thing I would say, I just think that, I always like to go back to plan A and think what God originally planned for us as human beings to be. When you look at what He wanted us to be as Adam, It was to be like autonomous, but in a relationship with him. And I've noticed the last couple of years with the pandemic that people have started to wake up and realize that what a human being is meant to be. And it's the starkness of the evil that's come our way that's helped us to understand the good. And I think things were murky before. And so I think that I know people who weren't even believers in God, who've become believers in God because they've just backed away from the evil and gone, ugh, I don't like that. And then they've gone, oh, God's great, I love him. And in evangelical preaching, it's just been reality.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to describe it. Yeah, it does feel like as a whole, there's been a murkiness. There's been sort of a fog of war. There's been we've been in this time of trying to figure out left and right and good and bad and male and female and all the sort of binaries in the world. And that's this non-binary thinking has postmodernism and everything attached to that has had everybody a bit confused. They've been a little bit over-socialized and underinformed, so they kind of tend to just go with whatever makes people think they're good people. But this year, especially, I feel 2023 especially has been this moment of clarity for a lot of people. Things have been pushed to such a brink that a number of people that I know have sort of snapped out of it and finally sort of seen the light. Their visions become clear. And the problem is, and we've known this for a long time, problem is once you see through a pair of clear glasses, you can't go back to walking around in the fog. You don't want to go back to the sort of confusion that's manufactured for us. I don't know. It feels like to me that we're in a serious time of clarity, or a serious time of realigning sort of our understanding. So it's a serious turning point. Have you guys noticed the same?
Well, you know Jesus, right?
I know Jesus, yeah.
Well, he was completely free, but he had faced the worst. He'd thought before the things happened to him, he'd prepared for them, what was going to happen to him. And I've experienced, I've been a believer for many years, but only recently have I experienced the threat of losing everything. Things that are dear to me, could be my reputation, could be money, could be situations, relationships or whatever, job and everything, pride and whatever. If you can actually imagine, just come to terms with the worst possible scenario that you fear and dealing with it, you're free. And that's what Jesus was, and I think that's what he wants us to be.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I grew up Christian. I've been a Christian my entire life. Very proud of it. I have no idea how, it's God, really. God's the one responsible, because so many people born into Christianity and involved very deeply with Christianity from a young age, so many of them have not maintained that lifestyle or that set of beliefs or that relationship into their 30s. And so I give God all the credit for being in the place where I am. But there, in the church, especially when you're working with sort of a, kind of normie church, or like you're in a Sunday school or something, you talk about the freedom that Jesus gives you, the freedom that comes with giving your life over to Christ. And it's, it often is not really taken literally. It's kind of taken as sort of, who knows, maybe spiritual freedom, maybe freedom from some bad thoughts that you thought about. And, it's the application of that freedom word had been kind of metaphorical, or a little abstract, at least for a long time. But when it hits you, when you find that there comes a point, I don't know what the criteria is, and I don't know what that point is, but there comes a day when the concept of the freedom in Christ comes across your mind, and you feel it, and you're like, oh my goodness. It's almost like you have to become so burdened by the world, so burdened by your own sort of misuse of your life or your own everything. And only then, when you turn to Christ, the freedom that comes in Christ it's hard to describe. I'm having a hard time even putting it into words. But again, it goes into this idea of sort of a depth dimension of life. You're living life not longer, but deeper in sort of every sense of the word. And man, oh man, if I could go back and tell, 16-year-old Basil, who's going on mission trips and stuff, who's just doing the best he can, that was coming, or that was even possible, I don't think I would have believed myself from the future. I'm not sure. Which brings us to time travel.
What a segue.
Which brings us to time travel. Professional podcaster here, folks. You think maybe this was an accident, but this was my plan the whole time. Have you guys ever time traveled?
Yes. No, I lied.
Well, I highly recommend it. You should check it out. It's good for the soul, and if you can get a message across to your former self, it's you can and you should try to affect the future. Don't let Hollywood and the media try to convince you that you're not allowed to go into the past to change the future. That is a lie. They're just trying to keep us down, folks.
Basil, does it count if, when I was on the plane coming over, I watched Back to the Future again?
Whoa, bro.
I remember as a kid watching it. It's kind of going back in time, watching the future in the past.
That's it. You did it. Yeah. You specifically, if you watch, but you have to do it on a plane. You got to watch Back to the Future on a plane, and it has to go from east to west. If you go from west to east, you're going into the future. If you go from east to west, you're going into the past. And congratulations on your first time travel trip.
Thank you.
Over here in the U.S., there's a lot of news that goes around about what's going on in the UK, whether it's, immigration policies, financial policies, the 15-minute city thing. Do you want to give us a little taste of what your perspective on what's going on in the UK is?
I can tell you about my speeding ticket. I got done for doing 35 miles an hour. I got 3 points on my license and 100 quid fines for going 5 miles over 30. But anyway, I'm not going to get bitter.
Was it with a camera?
I am bitter. No, it's just a policeman with a pointing. Anyway, moving on. I don't want to talk about it anymore. During the lockdown, I'll tell you a little story. I was living in a house with a guy from the BBC. He produced the global news for the BBC, so it was ever so strange. And I went down to London on one of the marches, the anti-lockdown marches. And a friend of mine told me about it. The second one I went down in July 2021, there were 1.2 million people in London marching, ordinary people. It's the biggest march in the history of Britain ever, bigger than the anti-war marches. And I came back to the house and spoke to my man from the BBC and said, I've just been to the biggest march ever in history. And I said, how come it's not on the TV? And he said, the government contacted the BBC 10 days ago and asked us not to cover it. So I realised we're in a complete lockstep situation. So all the different agencies are working together. That's Britain's kind of gone, really. Yeah. Banking currencies are coming and things like that. There's not much pushback, but there are a lot of people waking up. I take solace about the human beings that are waking up. People are becoming believers in God, but they've got nowhere to go. I've looked into the strawman stuff about common law and what it means to be who you really are rather than the person that's on the birth certificate and, corporation. And people who I know who are even new age people or gurus or shamans, they're all looking into this stuff and they're finding their only freedom comes from the Creator, which is an amazing thing. We have a Magna Carta in Britain, which kind of talks about the freedoms we have. So bad stuff is leading to good stuff. That's how I tend to look at it. People are discovering what it means to image God and be a believer in God. And it ain't necessarily the cookie cutter kind of Christian thing. It's just believing in God and Jesus, you know. And I've noticed loads of people. I've got a Buddhist friend, Buddhist for 4 years, and during the lockdown, she came to Jesus because she had no one to pray to in Buddhism, and she became Jesus. And she's a beautiful believer now. She's on fire just because she turned to Jesus. So I think it's a great time as well. Well, it's the
best and the worst of times.
Tale of Two Cities, yeah. Tale of Two Cities. It was the best and the worst time. So yeah. So I tend to be. I'm much more positive. It's very strange. And also my understanding of the gospel's changed. I think Michael Heiss has helped me out with that. Read the Bible in context more. Bible Project, Tim Mackey, things like that. N.T. Wright has kind of really helped me understand what the real gospel is, and it's much richer and deeper than perhaps I thought it was before. So all these bad things have really, really been good in many ways. So yeah. I don't want to talk negatively. You can talk about the darkness and stuff forever. It's the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it? But you can get black-pilled and just give up and sitting around waiting like a deer in the headlights. But we need to get white-pilled. God's doing it. And he's doing it invisibly in the hearts of people. It's brilliant.
I love that. Yeah, no kidding, man. I mean, we've all been there. I had never heard the term black pill before, but I was doing a live episode of Canary Cry News Talk, and I started seeing in the chats. I don't even remember what I was talking about, but I was going off on something. And then in the chat, it was just person after person like, oh, Basil's black pilled. I'm like, what? What is it? What? And I looked it up later. I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about. There's a lot of stuff going on that is so easy to let us sort of consume you and darken the world around you. But if you just tweak your perspective just a little bit, and I love what you said about understanding the gospel in a different or deeper or new way. Because, there's been a lot of talk, especially with you artsy fartsy types, the musicians I've known in my life. They just love to tell me about how the Bible and the church and Christianity and religion as a whole is a control mechanism to keep the peasants working for their feudal lords. And so that's why I'm an atheist or whatever. And to a degree, there is a world in which the setup of many churches, some churches, the setup of the entire idea of the thing, even if the individuals within the church who are running the church, who are teaching at the church, who are making the decisions, even those who are attending, even if their intent is not to keep people in sort of the shallow end of the pool, give them something to do on Sunday before brunch, and generally give them some like 101 rules for how to be a good person or whatever. Even if that's not the intent, the incentivizations are aligned with exactly that, especially in America. American churches are incentivized to get as many people in there as possible. And how do you do that? You make everybody feel good. Now, I'm not a proponent of necessarily making your church all about hellfire and threatening people. That's not what I'm saying. But certainly an exploration of the Gospels on a deeper level, which previously you could only get those kinds of explorations on weird podcasts that had, weirdo scholars that were talking about how there's, a divine council and little gods among the one big God and all these kind of things. That's where you used to only be able to get this stuff. And thankfully now it's more acceptable and more available. But there is an aspect of American churches, some of them, that is very similar to the sort of corporatism that see people as a resource, and they do whatever they can to sort of collect as many resources as possible and use them for the good of the organization. And, a lot of people just are built different, and that's not enough. Now, I believe that, a true, deep understanding of the gospel turns somebody into a very powerful force. Even just the way they live their own lives, the way they make decisions, the way they treat people, the way they think about current events, there is a level of understanding that comes with sort of a deep relationship with Scripture that turns you sort of into this weird kind of uncontrollable monster. And I say that word lovingly, that is not very convenient or monetizable by the corporations or the churches who have their incentives lined up. So I love that. And I encourage, I don't know how to help people find this or realize this, but I highly encourage them to at least pray for God to put that kind of stuff in their path. Because, like you said, as things continue here, it's going to take powerfully equipped people with a deeper sense of what God is doing in order to make it through this with any sanity.
Right. Well, I think going back to kind of the beginning of this conversation, you had mentioned the corporate apocalypse, if you will. And in light of what Andy said here about, the birth certificate, stuff like that, I know we've talked about all those things before, but I have a song called Power on this record. And it's all about what I learned back then, but that extends to the church, right? It extends to this 501c3 deal, right? And just as we've been talking about being forced out of our comfort zones and being stripped away of things, I think that we're going to find that the church is really you and me, and we are going to be getting together more in houses and, dare I say it, buses or what?
Or buses, yeah.
So,
be careful what you say. You just might get what you wish for today. It's true, but you only synonymous with your needs spiritually. Just say you understand. We'll ink up your feet and stand you under contract. In fact, your fictional existence doesn't exist in essence. Nonetheless, it's extensively
but
Bus church.
yeah, I think we are. I mean, the churches can't go on. Their backs will be financially broken as well, along with a lot of the other things that we're seeing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, snap, fellas. And you can find you can find all their opinions on this poetically structured in their new album. What is the name of the new album, by the way?
Escape Babylon.
Escape Babylon.
Now-
Hello.
Yeah, now the title to me meant a lot more back in the day, something kind of else. But today, the way I envision it, even though the artwork has a picture of a elephant representing your Republican structure, right? And below it, so the elephant is standing in water, above water, with flames surrounding it on fire, and underneath it is this dead donkey carcass,
Ooh.
representing that structure. And you're either burning or you're drowning, because it's two wings of the same bird, as we know.
Oh, wow.
However, and then on the flip side of the LP, there's just bones in the water of both animals. So, and by the way, our friend Natalina, I dedicated the record to her passing. So her name is on the back of the vinyl LP. But going back to the title, to me today, what this really means to me, more than escape literal Babylon or figurative Babylon or anything like that, to me, Babylon starts in the mind. And we have our own limiting beliefs and we have our own comfort zones. And until we adapt the mind of Christ, we can't escape.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love it so very much. Yeah, I'm looking at this album cover now. I mean, I saw it before, but I never looked right at it. And now it's affecting me in a very deep and disturbing way. Thank you for that explanation. I'm enjoying it very much now. Okay, so you guys are, again, just here's your advertisement repeated again here. You're going to be playing a live show at the Self-Reliance Festival in Camden, Tennessee, and I highly recommend and that's on the 14th, Saturday, the 14th of October. That's, by the time you're listening to this, folks, it's tomorrow. Or it might be today. So get in your car, drive to Camden, Tennessee, go to the Self-Reliance Festival. I do not know much about the Self-Reliance Festival, but I like what I do see. So y'all should be going to this anyways, and they should be giving me a slot to do a live podcast, but maybe next year. But go check it out. There's going to be Canarians meeting there. Send an email. You can check in with Sam at slave2servant@gmail.com. That's 2 with TWO. And, or if you're just there, head up to the Slave to Servant merch booth. Give them, the secret passcode, Canarian, or just shout, think outside the cage, or baka, or something like that, and they'll know it's you, and you'll get a little goodie. And you'll get to meet Sam and and Andy. I'm looking here. Andy, we had you on a Flyby Music episode of Canary Cry Radio back in 2015. Look at that. We got an old timer. And that was about, your project Dissident Prophet, which people should also go check out. Look at this. This is fun, man. It's, being an old person now, seeing how far people have come or not come, and the way life goes and people coming together. And this is very special. It's very cool that you guys are on this project together. So, what else is on the menu, guys?
Okay. Well, I kind of wanted to talk to just the listeners who are in this community.
Here
and whether you've been, part of this for a long time or whether you are new to it, doesn't really matter, because we're all part of this community. And I wanted to reach out because a lot of changes on the horizon for me in my life right now. I'm kind of in a state of not knowing. I might be moving shortly. I am mobile all the time anyway. Right?
The wheels on the bus go round and round.
So some friends of mine want to start a record label, etc., that puts out art like this. We kind of want to start a renaissance, put out records and all kinds of media, and start doing festivals like this, and just continue to spread truth. And we are looking for people who want to be involved, who want to help out like you do with Canary. Like, if there are people that design things, if there are people that have gifts that want to be heard or seen or whatever, please reach out. But especially, I'm looking right now in the immediate for people who are writers, people who are marketers, anybody that can help me start to push this record for the next 2 years. I would like to try to do a 2-year tour cycle on this record and continue to film videos for it and just raise awareness and play festivals like what we're doing today. So if you're out there, feel free to reach out to me at slave2servant@gmail.com. That's TWO. But I would very much appreciate it. I would like to see how we can seek to benefit each other, help each other out as best as we can. As far as other things, we have merchandise available right now. We have shirts and CDs and posters and stickers and stuff up in the Slave to Servant merch store on slavetoservant.com/store. I just uploaded everything to Bandcamp. And if I can ask for one free thing that nobody really has to spend money on or anything, if you're a Spotify listener, please go find Slave to Servant on Spotify and become a listener of Slave to Servant. Subscribe to us as a listener.
Follower. Yeah,
Follower.
hit that follow button.
I think we have about 20 monthly listeners right now. So
oh yeah, that's how it starts.
I think we've got about 370 some YouTube subscribers. Things like this are really helpful. If you go follow us on Instagram or any of these kinds of things, just all of the above, we could really just use that at this point.
Yeah.
And anything else is just an added bonus to that. So if you like what you're hearing, the album is free to stream as of tomorrow or today if you're listening. And it'll be on all digital platforms. I have vinyl, I have CDs. I'm excited to film some videos here with Andy. He's going to do a couple of videos with me when we get back to New York. Going to film a video for Yeshua, in which, by the way, we're going to be doing a tribute to the late, great David Flynn. And that's all I'll say about that. But yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, we're kind of pulling out some obscure things here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Canarians, you're hearing my voice now. You know it. I know it. These guys know it. You guys are participants. This show would not exist if it weren't for our producers. And, remember, there's producing in all sorts of different ways. Even if you're just going and subscribing to all of Slave to Servant's social media, pressing follow on their Spotify, they're really in the building process right now. This is something that everybody has to go through. Every new project, every new side podcast I've ever started starts with this 20 listener begging for YouTube subscribers mode. This is what it takes, and this is how it starts. But of course, we know that it can get much, much bigger. And you, dear Canarian listening right now, you know the drill. This is value for value, baby. If you like these guys, if you like their music, or if you just like Andy's accent or something like that, this is your moment to help out some brothers in Christ who have been friends with this podcast for a very long time. And let's share the love a little bit, get involved. And that includes our very talented producers, the graphic artists, the writers, the all y'all. If you're looking to, play around with some new stuff, of course, you've been producing this show. You're a master, and please don't stop. But it's an opportunity to participate at the very birthing, the infant years of this very cool project that, like I referred to earlier, it aligns. We are aligned. We are aligned with Sam and Andy and Slave to Servant. They are doing the good work in another way. And I highly encourage people to reach out and get involved and subscribe to all their stuff. If you have 2 seconds, do you have 2 seconds? Go subscribe. Thank you.
I did want to say, I haven't got to publicly say this to you on air, but Bethel, you called this thing, like from the beginning of Canary Cry Radio, you started talking about, if there were a pandemic, things like this. I remember specifically listening to you, and I appreciate that your finger was on that pulse.
Oh my God.
Since the get-go. And I actually ended this record. Mind you, this record was finished being recorded in 2019 and being mixed at the beginning of 2020, just before the lockdowns happened. And the ending song on this record is called Birth Pangs. The final lyric to the song is, "The path to heaven is straight but not so wide. Enlightenment don't stem from a third eye. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, sick infections and mass injection. See no connections." Birth.
Whoa.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, sick infections and mass injections. See no connections.
Holy smokes. You see that, folks? Look, it's not just me that has to brag about it getting things right all the time. I know you're tired of me saying it, that we called it from the beginning. Thank you for that, Sam. It's about time they heard it from another credible voice. I really appreciate that.
Of course, appreciate
And I can't wait for people to check out the album. You said it is going to be available on Spotify. You're going to be on YouTube. You're going to be all over the place.
Yes. The album technically is available right this second as we speak on YouTube and on Bandcamp. I just dropped it yesterday early for the early birds, but it's on every single digital platform that you listen to, like Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Deezer, all those kinds of things, as well as on physical forms of media. We just filmed a video for Destroying the Eye, the opening track, and it is quite the pot stirrer. I will just say that.
Ooh.
It probably won't drop until the end of the month because the guy wanted to put a little more work on it. There was a lot of digital editing that had to be done to it, but I think I might get canceled. Let's just say that, but it's okay. I mean, who am I to get canceled? You know?
We're walking the line, baby. Walking the line. Well, if you believe some of our listeners and YouTube viewers, getting canceled is a badge of honor nowadays. It's hard to pay the bills with a badge of honor, but at least it helps the sting a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think Gonz hasn't been here for most of this, but Gonz was an OG member of Slave to Servant. He played on the first 3 or 4 tracks that I ever did.
That's right.
Servant. And
is he on this album or any of his tracks on this album?
But he has 4 songs that he was a part of that are on the Singularity CD. Which is also available on digital platforms. Also, there's a song that I had to attribute to him called Face Like the Sun on that collection. But I wanted to say, if I can, hopefully we can do this again and we can put out some other project that we've been kind of working on the back burner, you and Basil and I.
Oh, yeah.
So,
baby. We got all sorts of stuff.
So there's something to come. We'll just say that. We've been working on a little project that's going to come out on cassette, I think, in 2024 is my goal.
Ooh, such a tease. Oh, yeah, I'm looking at here on your Singularity album here. We got this one just straight up has Gonz's name on it. Bonus track, Baptized in Credit. Yeah, that's Gonz remix.
Yep.
I love it. I'm going to listen to that right now.
What did I miss?
By the way,
yeah,
we should, maybe this is an off-air thing, but we should maybe talk about what it would take to get a bulk order of one or both, or one and then the other, of your albums, and we can stick it in the Canary Cry supply drop, get it out to the people.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. There you go, folks. We're going to talk numbers. We're going to see how we can do it. But another good reason to also go join the Canary Cry supply drop at canarycrysupply.com. Thank you guys so much. I have no idea what happened to Gonz. He's not even...
I'm here. I just came back. What did I miss?
Oh, there he is. There he is. Gonz, we had a great conversation. It was almost better that you were gone.
Oh, good. That's maybe how it was supposed to be then.
Who knows? But we're coming up on an hour and a half here. Was there anything you just absolutely had to talk to these guys about?
Oh, I was hoping.
I will stop you and tell you if we already talked about it.
I have 23% left on my computer, so we should for at least another 10 minutes.
Quick one. You get one question, Gonz. One question, and it better be good.
I'm going to phone a friend.
Yeah.
putting me on the spot here. I was hoping just the conversations would stir my brain in terms of a specific question. But,
oh, yeah. It was good. You're going to love it, Gonz. It's going to be like one of those olden days where you get to listen to me talk to people.
Well, I'm kind of bummed that I couldn't sit here and listen and have the conversation with you guys, but I was here in and out. I heard little chunks of it.
Oh, good.
But I heard Andy talking for a few minutes. But I don't have much to say other than I am proud of you, Sam, for continuing to press forward and just, it's very easy to give up when it comes to, music, art projects, stuff like that. There's probably yes, I know. Yes, but you're 6. So you, once you get to bigger art projects, it'll be a different thing. Yes, she's giving me the eye. Okay. So I just wanted to say, Sam, congratulations. Good job. And I hope people give this album a chance. And it feels like, and I heard part of your conversation at the end there where, some of the lyrics were almost prophetic in a way. And, I think it's just in this community, in the niche we're in. Yeah, I'm sure Basil talked about it a little bit. We'd been talking about some fringy issues, and now it's all kind of coming into the spotlight. And, those of us who've been talking about it for a long time, we're going, see, told you that's the thing. But it's kind of interesting how now that it is mainstream, it's sort of, or not mainstream, but yeah, it's pretty big. It's the loudest voice out there right now when it comes to topics like UFOs and all this kind of stuff. I was telling Basil on our last CCNT episode, it's like we were prepared for this time. And I think a great representation of that is the album here. So I'm very proud of you for putting it together, staying on it. I know it's a multiple year process, and doing it independently is a whole different thing. You're not looking for cartel money or corporate money or something to.
Oh, but I put a good, I would say, $25,000 into this thing.
There you go.
Holy smokes!
It was recorded by my friend and the drummer on the record, Jesse Spring, at his studio, and we mixed the record with James Paul Wisner, who did like Paramore and Under Oath and Dashboard Confessional, and then during the pandemic, quote unquote, I hate that word. During the lockdowns, I contacted Howie Weinberg, who mastered Nirvana's Nevermind and Smashing Pumpkins and Faith No More, bands like that. And he gave me the pandemic special. I paid like $2,000 to fix the whole record. So
sweet.
The whole record.
You locked down the mix nicely.
So it's got amazing talent behind the boards on all those guys' fronts, and it can compete with, I think, anything out there that's in the rock category. So
right
on. We have a Dashboard Confessional drop, so I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And everybody out there, go check it out. You know the deal. This is the thing. I had a very important thing to say, and a ad popped up of a guy welding some stuff, and it's bright and shiny. And it
how
erased
advertising
my brain.
Takes over your mind. This
I
is
know.
why we don't
You're
advertise,
just
folks.
sabotaged by the advertising industry.
What are you looking at that's advertising to you? Like,
I don't know. It's a guy welding something.
No, I know, but what are you on X? Are you on Facebook? Like, what are you looking at that you're looking at?
Oh yeah, I just have X pulled up here.
Oh, okay,
you know the deal. I gotta check and make sure the day of jihad, doesn't pop off while I'm doing a podcast.
Talk about the biggest psyop ever. My goodness. Yeah, buddy. Oh yeah, children screaming. What's going on?
Something that I failed to mention also when I was speaking to this community here is that being that I view this project as a collective, right now what we have is a bunch of guys that have donated their time to come play with me. And if there are any other Canarians listening that would like to also donate time and perhaps play, festivals and things like that, or tours, I am all about, let's form a huge collective of listeners and friends and, brothers and sisters in the Lord that want to play music and slave to servant as well. So
have you seen those music videos? Well, they're like these projects. There's a channel on YouTube that does these very popular songs, but they'll get like hundreds of people playing it. So you got like 200 guitar players and like 50 different drummers, and they'll play like a Nirvana song or a Metallica song or something.
I have seen that.
It would be very cool to do something like that with some of the Slave to Servant tracks. Maybe not that big, but yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Canarians are participators. Somebody out there right now has been wondering how they can get involved. They have time and talent in their life, and they just haven't been inspired yet. And somebody out there, they're like, is this it? Is this the thing? And I'm telling you, this is the thing. This is your sign.
Absolutely.
So go ahead and send an email to slave to servant. That's TWO. Slave to servant at gmail.com. Get involved.
And also on my website, on the Slave to Servant website, there is a Learn tab, which you can learn all the songs on Escape Babylon on bass, and there's little tutorials for all the lead guitar parts and such.
Ooh.
That's always a need for a lead guitar player. And then there's also a stems tab, and I'm looking to, this is another one for the producers out there. Anybody who's making these jingles and music, I have the stems for the record up. You can make remixes of your heart's desire, and I would be happy to release a remix, like Babylon Remixed or something like that eventually, so.
There we go.
There's something.
Very cool. All right, everybody. And again, Camden, Tennessee, Saturday the 14th of October. Go to the Self-Reliance Festival. You belong there. You need it. Important skills. And you can have a Canary Cry meetup with Sam and the boys at the Slave to Servant merch table. And I'm sure, who knows, they might have other stuff planned as well. So get on out there. Get on out there, you hear? And with that, I want to thank you guys, you two, for your time. This has really been a sort of audio soundscape adventure between what is it like? What's it like to sit outside of a Starbucks near Nashville, Tennessee? What is it like to have two screaming children during a podcast episode? We're taking you on an adventure here, folks, and it's all on purpose. This is our avant-garde style of podcasting. We're tired of the polished corporate NPR podcasts. Give us the chaos of audio soundscapes. That's real life, folks, and we know you appreciate it. Sam and Andy, both from Slave to Servant. Thank you so much, guys.
Oh, I loved it, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, Basil and Gonz.
There you have it, folks. Wasn't that good? Don't you feel edified and enlightened and inspired to live a life aligned with the values that you've been so deeply incentivized to ignore for so very long? I know I do. I forgot the question. But there you go. Check out Slave to Servant. Go to slavetoservant.com. Follow on Spotify. All that good stuff. We'd really appreciate the Canarians supporting our buddy here. And let us know what you think about the music. We will be hopefully working out a way to send this album or one of the albums out with the Canary Cry supply drop. Of course, you can always produce this show. This show only exists because of the value for value system, which means you, dear listener, getting involved with your time, your talent, or your treasure. CanaryCrySupplyDrop.com is a great way to do that. Go sign up for that, and who knows, maybe you'll be getting Escape from Babylon in the mail in just a couple months. But Gonz, we are value for value. And we do have an executive producer who came in before this show, and I would like to thank them and give them the props they deserve. What do you think?
Executive producers.
You know it. Value for value. We only exist because you, dear producer, become a producer of this show. The executive producers, they come in, they support an individual episode with $100 or more, and we're so very grateful for them. And today we have the one, the only, the king of executive producer streaks. It is Sir LX Protocol V2, Knight of the Berean Protocol.
Thank you very much, Sir LX Protocol, Knight of the Berean Protocol.
Yes, and as usual, he came in with $100 and 33 cents. Incredible.
Illuminatus!
And for everyone else who produced the show between now and Wednesday, we will be adding you to the list to thank on Monday. We really appreciate that. Just remember, with everything going on in the world, the craziness, the instability, the economic shenanigans, we also feel it. We are living in the same world, and that makes us so very appreciative and take very seriously when people decide to keep this show going. So if you find it in your heart, in your budget, pray about it, become a producer of the show with your time, your talent, or your treasure. You can go to canarycry.support to learn more.
CanaryCry.support.
That's him, folks. That's Sam. That's the guy you just heard. Isn't that fun?
Yeah. Now you know who he is.
Now you know who he is, and you can be his friend. You can go meet him at the Camden, Tennessee meetup. All right. Anything else, Gonz?
I think that's it. I think we're playing a full song at the end here.
Oh, yeah. We'll give you a little taste-a-roonski of the album here at the end of the show. And keep an eye out. Again, go follow him everywhere. This is how it starts, folks. This is the deal. Trying to do the Lord's work in the way that we're called to, but we are still met with the same system, the same requirements as everybody else, and that is to gain online followers. What a weird world that we live in. To find success, we must convince people to click a button online. It's so very strange, but that's the world we live in.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry Radio. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cave.
value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry, not suppose.